Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am SocioPsycho and this is Mob Reviews, and today we're going to be taking a look at Hero of Many, created by Trickster Arts, available for PC and Mac, which is a casual adventure action style game. Casual in its gameplay that doesn't have that much intensity. Adventure as of a story that is unraveled and told to you in a manner similar to interpretive dance. Not anything overly captivating. And a little action when the game does perk up in its combat mechanic at work. The base question, is it any good? And that is what we will answer here today, or at least attempt to. Now we'll start as always in the options menu, but this game lacks an options menu. It has 3 toggles on the bottom side. One simply goes and allows you to select the chapter that you wish to play on, which aren't really all that labeled. The labeling of the chapters as well as the symbols to navigate the interfaces leave a lot to be desired. They are not panned out well at all. Now on the load up screen you do have a basic option of screen resolution or choice. The game has been running at 60 frames per second. I've had no clipping, tearing, or crashing, and suffered no performance issues of any regard. Graphically, the game is very simplistic. It gets by in an artistic style, and whether how much you enjoy that artistic style is definitely left up to you. So let's jump into the gameplay, because there's not much to talk about in a game like this, but there is the gameplay. The gameplay is very simplistic. You are a character of an egg shape, and as you flow through these different maps, you collect these different eggs and collect what we'll call these fish creatures, even if they do look similar to sperm. As you progress through the story, you'll be encountered with a darker villain, same body structure and movement style of the units you're able to gather, but these are tainted, they're possessed or darkened or gone evil or some variation, and they're killing any of your type that they see on sight. The adventure is not so much as a what is happening and what's going on, but more of a survive and I need to progress forward and try to unravel visually what's happening in the story as the gameplay unfolds as I progress through the different levels. The gameplay itself is very simplistic. You basically just use the mouse and point the mouse where you wish to go by holding the left mouse button down, and you will move that way. Your main character will gather up other characters, and as you progress through the story, you may gain some additional powers, but the overall concept stays the same. It is a very casual game. Because of how little or intensified the action is, and how you never really have the upper hand, tied into how the levels may be much different in its level design or its size and structure, but the coloration and the concept of what you're facing is all relatively the same. Is this game graphically nice in an artistic manner? Yes, but it does outstay its welcome. There is no variation, and that's what hurts the game the most as it progresses through. The game is actually pretty long, and depending on your speed and how vastly you search each level to find all that you can find, you're looking at 4 to 6, maybe even more hours of gameplay during this game. And during that entire time, the aesthetic stays the same. Now, it's important to have the aesthetic and the atmosphere tying together to promote a story and an element, but the continuation of seeing the exact same thing, even though you're switching from different levels, gets very repetitive very fast. In the gameplay, do they add a few extra little tricks and trades here and there to spice it up? Yeah, you might see spikes lined up on different pathways or ceilings, and certain elemental characteristics which make gaining through the environment just a little bit more tricky. Not necessarily more difficult, but you need to take your time a little bit more. Are these things that are nice to see? Yes, but do they vary enough to allow the gameplay to feel refreshed, to challenge, to jump in between different mechanics, and give the player some sort of continuational inspiration for the mission that the story is led out for? And the answer is no, it does not. And you can argue that that's because it's a casual game, and if you play it in small spurts, it may be okay and whatnot. And while the gameplay on its base may be stable for what it does, it's just a lot of the same thing. There is really no environmental change, and the threats all come down to the same aspect. Whether they're larger army that you have to run away from or fight, or smaller army in the beginning, it's all the same concept. So at the end of the day, level design in its scale is done well. They have an abundance of missions and levels which tie together well. They have different sizes and complexity, but it's the repetitiveness atmosphere of seeing the exact same thing or close to it that gets old. The combat in the game may be well done, but it's not anything special. And when other mechanics in the game don't really flush out their full potential, you put more weight or strain, you rely on the other mechanics to pick up that slack. There really isn't a story that is prevalent or will make you feel heart-wrenched or really give you a guide through what's going on. You'll understand the atmosphere by playing and why things are happening, but really have no connection to any of the events happening, which is a bit unfortunate. I feel a couple of changes they might have been able to really change the dynamic of the game, but it wasn't meant to be, I guess. So the question comes down, would I recommend it? On sale, knowing that it's going to be very casual and pretty repetitive in the motions that you undertake, then yes. The game is very repetitive. Would I want to continue playing this game now that I'm done with it? No. Would I want to replay it later in the future? No. Will I ever come back to this game ever again? No. Would I personally buy this game knowing what I know now? No. But for a casual, simplistic game of just floating around and exploring an environment and dealing with threats, it's not horrible. So ladies and gentlemen, that's the best I can give you. Hope this has been helpful to you. I've been SocioPsycho, and I'll see you next time.